Where's Benedict? He's just coming down from your side. No, I think he was going down there.
You know they can hear the audio, right?
No, I'm just changing the bag.
Swear to God, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna wrap a Twitch for Dummies book. I'm gonna give it to you for Christmas. God.
I'm sorry for doing you a nice thing by changing the garbage seat or something, because I know you're going to make some trash. You don't have to.
Panic says, "Hi, Pip."
Hi, Panic. Give him hell, because he gives me hell.
Don't even.
I'm going to go downstairs and play something else.
My own wife doesn't even watch my own stream. How heartbreaking.
I see you all the
How
time.
heartbreaking.
God damn it.
How heartbreaking, Chad.
I see you
Stream
all
starting
the time.
soon, everybody. Stream starting soon. If you didn't figure that out. Whatever.
Or be like Vice. Actually, maybe just.
I need that. So I wanted to make sure I gave everybody enough time to get here. Had to do a quick little run on. On the socials, but I think I'm ready now. So here we go. How you doing, everybody? I haven't done one of these in a while, but yeah, you're baking with the TeeMonster, and I got the pad out, or I got the wood bowl out. Wood bowl out. Jeez, it has been a while since I've done one of these. I've got the wood board out. Got the bamboo wood out, and then I've got the pan out, and Miko and Panic, I see you all are hanging out here. So, yes, this is for an epic cinnamon whiskey pumpkin pie that I'm making today. And here's how it works. The reason why it's epic is because I'm actually pulling from 3 different recipes. These 2 recipes right here are the actual pie recipes. Now, I know you can't read them right now, but I'm just putting them out there so you can see it. These 2 recipes I'm actually going to be pulling bits from here and there. And then we're going to combine it all and make an epic pumpkin pie. This epic pumpkin pie, though, has this. Don't know if you can see this. Thank you. I didn't realize I was poking out that much. I don't take offense to that. But actually, if you want to know, and thank you, Panic. You know how to make a guy feel pretty good because Panic. When I was training at the beginning of 2020, I was actually with a trainer, and Pip and I were going on a regular basis. We want to get back to that, just so you know. But when I weighed in there, I was at 208. And I weighed myself this morning, I'm 188. And I know for a fact I was heavier than 208 before I started because I didn't want to step on the scale. But I could just feel it with every run. And to be fair, my running partner and I did get up this morning. We got up this morning bright and early at 6 a.m. to do our run. And as we're walking to the starting point, we could just feel the rain getting harder and harder and harder. And I finally said, okay, I don't think this is a good idea. It is now pouring rain. It is now pouring rain here. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I didn't need that 20 pounds. I'm okay without it. Of course, the problem is that the biggest problem is going to be that that this recipe may put all that weight back on. To be honest with you, it may put all that weight back on. I'm not kidding. Okay, don't quit. Good. And here's why. Because the reason this is an epic pumpkin pie is that I'm making it with this. This is the crust we're making today. We're actually going to make the crust from scratch, but not entirely from scratch. But we are going to be making an original crust. And the crust, just so you can see it a little better. It's right here. This is a cinnamon roll pie crust. So let me see if I can just go on ahead and spell all this out. It's a cinnamon roll pie crust, and it's going to be a pumpkin pie, and the pumpkin pie is going to have cinnamon whiskey in it. So this is going to be when I finish with putting all of these components together. We're basically going to call this Twitch Dad's Epic GG Pumpkin Pie. I think that's what we'll call it. All right. So the first thing we're gonna do is we got to start with the crust. Now, for those of you new to the stream, for those of you just popping in to saying hey, how you doing, everybody? My name is T. You can call me T. You can call me TeeMonster. You can call me Twitch Dad. I just saw GamerCat go by too. That's the funny bit. And look at that. Picking up a sub from Sparky Broken Halo. Where have you been? Sparky! I haven't seen you in so long, Sparky. Sparky Broken Halo resubbing at tier 3, which means that is another bit of money that I owe to the good folks over at St. Jude's. I do this thing on my stream chat called Subs for St. Jude, where if you sub at tier 3, I make a $25 donation. I only get half of the actual sub from Twitch. Twitch takes half, I take half. But then I take the full amount and I make a donation in your name to the good folks over at St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Right now, I am standing at making a donation of probably $400. And you know what? That's fine. I just have to, get a job first. And I'm not giving up. We're pushing ahead. Just finished 3 straight weeks of 10-hour days. Wow, Sparky. Wow. Well, it's nice to see you back in chat. And Christina, I see you there. How you doing, Christina? All right, so the plan is this. For the cinnamon roll pie crust, yes, I could have just gone on ahead and made shortbread crust. But instead, and this is recommended by the recipe. I could either go on ahead and just make shortbread crust, or I can just go on ahead and get a couple of frozen shortbread crusts from the store, and then start from there. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So before I roll all this out, before I start combining this, a couple things I got to do. First, I got to get all the crumbs in there and everything like that. I'll just fold it all together. And Sparky Broken Ale, what? $300? Sparky. 3,000 meals were just created by Sparky Broken Halo for No Kid Hungry. Sparky. Yes, $300, honey.
That's amazing.
How about that? What do you know? Merry Christmas, Bedford Falls. You know, if I had it, I'd run that GIF of Steve Carell from The Office, where he just goes, "Christmas is just awesome." $300. Wow, Sparky, thank you so much for that. That pushes us well into the $1,000 mark, which was what I wanted to do on this stream. I wanted to hit $1,000, and I can only hope that that somebody from No Kid Hungry was in chat to see that. I haven't seen Will and I haven't seen Carla, but I can only assume it's because they are just doing everything they can to keep everything going here at here in with No Kid Hungry. Now, if you don't know No Kid Hungry, they are an organization, and this is why Carla and Will probably haven't been in my stream in quite some time. No Kid Hungry is an organization to make sure that kids who are reliant on school meals for their meals of the day get fed when school is out of session. Now think about that, and then think about the entire year of 2020. Usually, No Kid Hungry, they take care of weekends, they take care of holidays, and of course they take care of summer. And apart from Christmas, summer is their usually most busiest time. Then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, that has more or less knocked them on their ass. And they have been killing it just to keep going, just to make sure that for every $1 you get 10 meals out of that. They're still working with that. And the folks in No Kid Hungry have been just really just shouldering all of this, and they're still doing really well for themselves. So I'm very excited that we're in the 1,000. We're in the 1,000 mark. This is the closest we've been to the $5,000 goal that I have. But look, I wanted to see what we could make. That's the main thing. Anything we make for No Kid Hungry is a bonus, because it was the way I looked at it when I was just under $500. I said, you know what? That's $500 more they had than when I started. But thank you, everybody, for all the support you're showing. And Sparky, if you and Panic can make sure to join us tonight for our Christmas Eve celebration. You and Panic, because Panic donated last night, but we only had one dono, so I'm going to roll it over to tonight. Tonight's feed, tonight's yes, and Pip's been waiting for this. Tonight's feed is the rating and rabble rousing with Pip. We're doing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and we are going to London. Pip has been holding off going to London in the game until Christmas Eve. So in a true Christmas Eve fashion, we are going to London for a very special Viking Christmas. And it should be fun. It should be a lot of fun. Okay, so on a lightly floured surface, roll out the pie crust for a few times to even it out to about half-inch thickness. Okay.
We're gonna do some traditional fighting.
We're gonna do some traditional fighting. We're gonna do some traditional Viking fighting. We're gonna do some
traditional Viking
some traditional Viking drinking games, which I'm sure that there are many American families who wish that even with COVID they could still do that sort of thing. All right, so one of the things that you need to know about baking, if you've never baked before, baking is not hard. Baking can be intimidating. Like if you watch the Great British Bake Off, what those people do is, in my opinion, astounding. You got to work up to that, though. And even then, it's not an exact science. But one of the things that you want to know when you're baking is why you do certain things. So I'm going to try to talk through as much of what I'm doing as I possibly can. And one of the things you'll notice is that when I pick this up, I'm constantly turning it. It's to help keep an evenness to your pie crust. Now, focusing back on the pie crust, you notice that I could have created the pie crust from scratch. Pip has told, and Pip's a fantastic baker. Don't let her tell you different. Twitch Mom is an amazing baker.
I concur.
Yeah, just ask her; she'll tell you. Anyway, but the thing about pie crust is, yes, you could, and we could have gone on ahead and gotten all the ingredients together, and I could have just made what is called a basic shortbread crust, which is what this is. Sorry? Short crust. See, when I play Destiny, Marv is allowed to backseat game. When I bake, Pip is allowed to backseat bake. That's the way it works. Now, if Marv comes into my stream and starts backseat baking, it's on. I will buy the plane ticket, bring him out here and go, bro, we are going head to head in here, and I'm going to be the one Sherping you. So I'm just, don't tell Marv I said that. Anyway. Yo! I meant to say Steampunk Rick in the house. How you doing there, Steampunk Rick? But this is a short crust. Short crust. And really, short crust is just a real basic pie crust of flour, butter, water. I mean, literally, you could find hundreds. I mean it, hundreds of short crust recipes online. Now, one thing that's kind of important when you're doing all this is you want to make sure you have flour not only on the crust itself, but also on the baking board, because if you don't use flour on the baking board, it sticks. It will stick like glue. The first time I ever did a short crust, I didn't do that. I was like, I don't need to do that. Yeah, it turns out I needed to do that. And so you want to make sure that you're... Look at that, Steampunk Rick also resubbing for 7 months. We're 2 months away from a stream baby there, Steampunk Rick. So we better start thinking some names for that baby. Now, one of the things you'll also notice is up here, I've got a slight crack happening. Now, one of the things I could do, if I'm worried about that crack being a problem, I can just fold this over and then just start re-rolling from that corner there. Eventually, it will round out. But this is what I'm basically trying to do. I'm just trying to get a nice flat round short crust here. And while I could have very easily gone on ahead and I could have very easily made a short crust. One of the shortcuts that even the recipe recommends that you do is you go on ahead and you get some of those pre-frozen short crusts and just thaw them out. Thaw them out and do this. And you know what? It works just as well. It works just as well. You know, I got a funny story about wassail, Rick. So I was at one of the last productions I ever did as an actor, as a professional actor, and it was actually a dream role, believe it or not, chat. And when I tell you what the role is, you're going to be like, oh, I can totally see that. But Twitch Dad got a chance to play Bob Cratchit in A Christmas Carol. That was a dream role of mine. That was an absolute dream role of mine. And what we did, my then wife and I, we hosted the cast party, and we said we're going to do traditional wassail. So we looked up wassail recipes, and there were like 20 different wassail recipes. So we combined all the stuff that we liked, and people couldn't get enough of it. There was apple cider in there. There was nutmeg. There was cinnamon. There was rum. Rum was a big factor in that, and it was a huge hit. Fast forward to when we go to England, and we talked about wassail, and we're there with this lovely couple from, it was either Cornwall or Yorkshire, I can't remember, but they were sitting there, and the woman said, "What's wassail?" And I'm like, "Well, it's an English tradition, you know. You have it around Christmas time." She's like, "No, we don't." And we're going back and forth about this, and then the husband walks in, and she goes, "Bernard, have you ever heard of this thing called wassail?" And he goes, "Wassail? Never heard of it." And you're like, and we're like, have we been lied to all these years by Christmas carols and Charles Dickens? But yeah, every time I think about that, it's I always think about that. Yo, Nico, how you doing, buddy? How you doing? All right, for those of you joining late, we are making an epic pumpkin pie, and we may be calling this Twitch Dad's Epic GG Pumpkin Pie, because the crust is a cinnamon roll crust, and that's what we're working on now. So we've got the base here. Now I got to go on ahead now and set this aside because we're gonna start now working on the filling that we use for this. So I'm gonna set that aside. And already I've made a mess, which is good because I haven't cleaned the kitchen yet. My mom's coming, so there's that. Oh no, wassail can be great, but the thing is, there's no one recipe of wassail. Now, in a small bowl, I need to mix butter with sugar, cinnamon, and vanilla extract. Spoon. Okay. So we're using now vanilla extract. Here's what you need to know about vanilla extract. You're going to see all different kinds of vanilla extract. Okay. The best kind, like this comes at like maybe $7 or $8 a bottle, and then you'll see one right next to it that's maybe $1.50. What's the difference? This is pure vanilla extract. Okay, this is made with 100% vanilla, no sugar added. The one that's $1.50, that's the one that's going to say it's vanilla imitation, and that's usually got a lot of sugar in it, not natural sugars in it, and it's going to taste very, very different. Exactly. Yeah. That's the Panic brings up something about vanilla. Pure vanilla is a lot like pure cocoa. If you ever have baking chocolate, that's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of having chocolate that's 95 to 100% pure. And actual pure chocolate tastes like ass. It really does. It tastes like the purest ass you'll ever have. Same thing with vanilla. But the thing is, when you get into the spices and you get into the different extracts, you want to work with pure vanilla as opposed to imitation vanilla. Just trust Twitch Dad on that. All right, so we're using the vanilla extract. I need to start melting butter. So we're going to pull the pot from here. Also a good idea when you're starting work on the crust, you're going to want to make sure that you preheat your oven, just to make sure the oven's all set and ready to go. All right, so I've got my burner on. So a nice little life hack slash if you're new to baking and the thing I've seen that people get the most stressed out about baking are measurements. They're worried they're going to screw up their measurements somehow. But the nice thing is we have come so far in baking and in accessibility of baking that literally products just make it easy for us. Like for example, I'm supposed to use 4 tablespoons of butter. Well, if you take a look at a stick of butter, it will tell you how much is 4 tablespoons. So I can go on ahead and look at this, go, that's 4 tablespoons. Grab that knife. Yes, I did say knife. And just cut along the edge here. All right, so this is what I have to melt. Another nice little thing too, if you have a stick of butter and the end is exposed, you can still put that in the refrigerator. You should be fine. All right. Butter is now in the process of melting. So for anybody who is a little late to the stream, the recipe that we are making is a cinnamon whiskey pumpkin pie. But at the end of this, we'll probably be calling this Twitch Dad's Epic GG Pumpkin Pie because it features a cinnamon roll crust and it also features locally distilled, local treasure cinnamon whiskey from Merlarkey Distillery. This is not Fireball. This is cinnamon whiskey you give to people that you like. So, something to consider. Now, when you're melting butter, you don't necessarily want it to boil too roughly like that. If you start hearing it popping like that, one of the things you can do to make the butter evenly melt so that you don't have most of your butter baking into the pan is take it off the heat and then just swirl it around like this. Swirl it gently. You notice I'm not swirling it like you would see in a baking show where they're trying really, really hard and really fast. The thing about the Great British Baking Show is they do complicated recipes on there. But the problem is, and the reason why it sometimes gets a little stressed on the Great British Baking Show, is they're doing it under the gun. And that's the thing you have to remember. When you're baking or you're cooking, you're doing it on your time. I'll be the first one to say, whenever you are making dinner, if you've got something else to do later that night, like in my case, streaming, I'm always going to come on. If my baking or my cooking is running over time, I will be the first one to go on to social media and say, yeah, that's 7 o'clock. It's happening at 8. Because 1, I want to make sure I get time with my family. And 2, I also want to make sure that that I'm doing it right. And as you can see, by taking it off, we now have nicely even melted butter. So that's 4 tablespoons in there. All right, so it's the sugar, cinnamon, and vanilla. Sugar, cinnamon, and vanilla. All right, so it is brown sugar. All right, brown sugar. How come you dance so good? All right. So half a cup of. So we got 4 tablespoons of butter in here. Sound is fine, but video occasionally goes a bit choppy. Yeah, if the video is a little choppy, in this case it should be okay because you'll still be able to see everything. I am getting some alerts. I am running off of a laptop, which is not necessarily ideal, but we should be okay. So long as the sound holds out. That's the main thing in this one. You know, when it comes to Fireside Lore and this, I think sound is more important than the video. Now, what's weirder still is that I'm not getting any choppy video on Streamlabs, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But let's go on ahead and let's get this in. Now, something else too about cooking and measurements. If you want to be super exact, you can be. With cooking, now with baking, it's a little more serious than cooking. Because if you decide, you know what, the recipe calls for this much pumpkin pie flavoring, but I think I'm going to put in an extra ounce of pumpkin pie filling because, I want more pumpkin pie taste. Problem is that lends itself to having your pie mixture being a little too soupy. And if it's too soupy, then you're not really having pumpkin pie for dessert. You're having pumpkin soup for dessert. So you want to kind of avoid that. Now, the thing about sugar here, about brown sugar in particular, is with brown sugar, if you want to have an exact, you can go ahead and pack it in there. And we want a half a cup of brown sugar. Okay, now when it starts bowing at the top like that, that's when you're like, okay, I've hit my limit. So, this is roughly half a cup of brown sugar. Now, I could go ahead and dump it in there. I'm just going to go ahead and sift it through my hands because I want the mixture to be a little even. And as much as I want to continue with the recipe and the stream, I need to take a quick break because I need to hit the little Guardian's room. But it should be okay just sitting in here. We should be fine. All right. I will be right back, everybody. Sit tight. I'll just leave it here. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. Thank you, everybody. If you ever wonder how hitting your knee on the steps up into a Peterbilt would feel, I already tried it out for you. It hurts like a mother effer. Well, that would do it. When I bake, I'm careful about my measurements. When I cook, I just go, whatever. Yeah. And that's true. What you find out is when you bake versus when you cook. Cooking, you can fly by the seat. You want a little more garlic, you throw more garlic. You want a little more pepper, throw some pepper in there. You want to use smoked salt instead of regular salt, go ahead and use the smoked salt. Baking is a bit more of an exact science, and that's what makes the Great British Bake Off so amazing, because not only are they dealing with an exact science, they're dealing with an exact science completely in tune with the environment. And then on top of all that, they're under the gun. I love what they do. I absolutely love what they do. But man, that is a rough ride. All right. We want 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Now, something you definitely should know. If the measuring spoon says TSP, that's teaspoon. When it says TSP, that's teaspoon. When it says TBSP, that's tablespoon. I say this because one time I was cooking for my mom, who doesn't like spicy food, and the recipe called for a teaspoon of sriracha. You put in a tablespoon of sriracha in anything, you're going to be feeling that for a week. I'm just going to come out and say that. All right. I would argue that they're both. They're both. They're a bit of both. All right, so these are 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. So let's go ahead and let's get the cinnamon in there. And when you're pouring, I suggest pouring over the bowl. A little easier that way to deal with, especially if there's spillage like what just happened there. All right. And then finally, a half a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. All right. So we go to half a teaspoon, which is here. Oh, this stuff smells great. All right. So we got the sugar, the cinnamon, the extract, and then we combine it. So just grab a fork and start mixing. Now, one thing though about recipes that you can always, fudge around with, be it baking or cooking. One of the cool things about recipes is that if you're like, you know what, I want more filling, because that's what this is. This is the crust filling. All right. If you want to have more filling, you could double this recipe if you wanted to. Cooking is wisdom, baking is intelligence. Well, then you're really screwed today. All right. So what do you think? This is our cinnamon roll recipe. This is our cinnamon roll filling right here. All right, so we set that aside. And quick fun fact about baking. Did you know it was Julia Child who actually perfected the method that is practiced today in cooking shows, where you have something prepared and done. So when she says, "We're going to put this in the oven, and when it comes out," and then she pulls it out and it's perfectly done. You can actually see the photos online. There were guys hiding underneath, ready to take the pie mix and then pull up, and there's the actual pie done and all stuff like that. She is an amazing person, Julia Child. She worked for British intelligence. Who are you? Child! Julia Child! Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. But yeah, she was a spy. All right. Is the main camera blurry? Could be. It's trying to figure out what to focus on right now, to be honest with you. It's also whenever I throw in something really close, like if I do this, it takes a moment and it'll focus on pumpkin pie, right? Then when I take it away, it gets all blurry. So you're not tripping. You're fine. She was a secret badass. Okay. Spoon the mixture into the center of the crust. Use a spatula to spread it evenly over the entire crust. All right. So we're switching from forks to spoons. Actually, we can just use a spatula. Another thing too, spatulas, yes. Spatulas are those things that we use to flip eggs and pancakes and all this stuff. What I'm using here is also called a spatula. I'm taking a For Dummies approach that if you've never baked before, I try to teach you what I have had to learn the hard way over years of doing this. The last time I actually did a cinnamon whiskey pumpkin pie, I think it was last year. But now what I'm doing is I'm taking the spatula and I'm spreading it evenly over the entire crust. Just want to make sure I got this right. I got it more than right. I'm good. Okay. So this is going to be the filling, and you just take the spatula and you just spread it out. And the trick is, you want to try to get it as close to the edge as possible, and you'll see why in a moment. And this is one of the beauties of cooking. If it's a filling and you decide, yeah, I want to do more of this, we can. You know what? I think I'm going to. I think I'll do like half of the original recipe. And that can get a little tricky sometimes, because when you're having a recipe in your head, you're just like, oh crap, how do I and you just want to make sure that that all the measurements are right. So let's see. So now 4 tablespoons becomes 2. Some recipes are harder to have than others. That's no lie there. Some are harder to have than others. Now, if you were to ask me what do I prefer doing, do I prefer baking or cooking? That's a tough call, because I enjoy the freestyle of cooking, but I love the end result with baking. I love the end result of baking. Throw a roulade into the oven. Lazy. What's a roulade? I do not know what a roulade is. I'm also going to... plenty of stuff we'll be cooking next week. There you go. You want to avoid... trying to, or burning out. Burning out, I mean, I know that Resonant Moon, a regular in the stream, friend of the stream, she said she's lost the joy of cooking and baking, which is a shame. They lost the joy of cooking and baking. Hopefully they will find it again. I am confident that they will. Okay. So I started hearing it pop. Started hearing the butter pop a bit, so I'm coming over here. Rolled meat tied together. That sounds like a beef Wellington. That sounds like a beef Wellington there, Mika. But you'll see I'm rolling that butter again. And that's the beautiful thing about heat. It's a beautiful thing about heat. You can actually take stuff like butter off the heat early, and it will eventually dissolve everything. Like, there it goes. Okay, so I've got my butter. And this time I only need half of this, I think. Beef Wellington is encased in pastry. Oh, I see. I did not know that. I love learning new cooking stuff. I do. I love learning about new cooking stuff. Now, right now, I'm just wetting the whistle and also giving myself a little bit of ginger ale because my stomach is feeling a little wonky. Don't know why. Ironically, it might have been because of something I ate. Good news is I was the one cooking it, so I can't blame anybody but me. All right, so we've got 2 tablespoons. Now I need a 1/4 cup a quarter cup of scoop some out here. And there's the difference. That's a quarter cup. That's a quarter cup of, and again, just as I did before, I could just throw the lump in there if I wanted to, but I'm going to go on ahead. That's the other thing, though. You might notice, Sparky, is you might notice that if I'm moving like this, the Logitech camera is going to try to focus on my hands, and since they're both moving, it's like what do I focus on? What do I focus on? And it starts to freak out a little bit. Now, what I'm doing is sort of a poor man's sifting. If you do get a recipe that calls for sifting, proper sifting, you're going to want to use a sifter. And I had one up here just a moment ago. I think Pip hung it back up. But it's that fine mesh dome that you see, and you sometimes use that for sugar and things like that. But if you don't have one of those, just go on ahead and just use your hands and do the whole wax on, wax off motif, and you'll be good. Doing 1,000 layer cake and rendang next week and more. So not putting effort in today. No, that is more than acceptable. More than acceptable. Okay, now I only need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. So we go back to the teaspoon. Another little side note: if you are buying ingredients and you say, "Well, they don't have ground cinnamon, but they've got cinnamon sugar," same thing. No, it's not. And if you're wondering, T, I already knew this. I didn't at the time, so I am just going on ahead and just approaching it from a ground zero perspective. Cinnamon sugar and cinnamon, ground cinnamon, not the same thing. In fact, anytime you see something like if it says cumin seed, but you have ground cumin, you might want to scale back on the flavor of the cumin then. Because if you don't have ground cumin, but you have cumin seed, if it calls for cumin seed and you have ground cumin, the amount of cumin seed will not have the same flavor as ground cumin. Ground cumin will have a lot more flavor to it. So just something to consider. All right, so I just put in the cinnamon, and then I need 1/4 teaspoon. So that's a 1/2 teaspoon. So I'm going to go with 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now, if a little extra dribbles into your mix, you're fine. You got nothing to worry about there either. But again, we're just going to combine this. And yes, if I ever got the opportunity to be on the Great British Baking Show or to bake for Paul Hollywood or Prue, I would make this recipe. Because this is one of my favorite recipes to make. And I'll tell you why. My dad loved pumpkin pie. He loved pumpkin pie. And it's because of my dad that I actually grew to love pumpkin pie too. And the thing is that I made this for him with just the shortbread crust, and he loved it. In fact, I can tell you the last time I made this, it was for a family event, and everybody knew I was supposed to be in charge of dessert, and people brought desserts from leftovers anyway. Not only was I pissed off, my dad was fit to be tied. He was angry. He was. There's a time when your parents get angry, and you can tell because they're fit to be tied, right? But they're throwing out all the things you would expect angry parents to say. I walk through coals in the snow both ways, that kind of talk. But my dad was so upset, he couldn't even speak. And that's when you know, you're like, oh, my parents are pissed. So yeah, he was really upset at some of the relatives about that, because he also knew how hard I'd worked on the pie. Now, not all of my desserts have been hits. I'll be the first one to admit that. Last time I did this pie crust, I did it for a pecan pie, and I think it was too much, because pecan pie, or sorry, if you're from the South, pecan pie is sweet enough. You throw on there a cinnamon roll crust, and it was even for me, and I've got the sweet tooth of a 10-year-old. It was too much. It was just too much. All right. I think we are ready for the next step, and it is coming down out there. Wow. Okay. Did I turn off the oven? Yes, I did turn off the oven. Good. All right. By the way, if anybody has any questions about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, any of the ingredients that I'm using, by all means, don't hesitate to ask. Do not hesitate to ask. Okay. Starting with side closest to you, roll the crust into a tight spiral. Cut the finished spiral into 1/2-inch thick pieces. So we start doing the roll. A nice, tight roll. But no kidding, chat, the hardest part about any time you do a roll is getting it started. Once you get it started, it tends to be a little easier. Come on. There you go. There you are. There you are. There you are. Ooh. Ah, you sexy beast. Yes. Yes, queen. Yes, queen. Roll for me. Roll. That's not weird, is it? Is that weird, chat? Sorry. Yeah. And there we go. It's a good roll, Maddie. It's a good roll. And then it says, all right, cut the now. Here's a great little hack right here. I'm going to turn this around, because if I want to be super exact about this, I can go ahead and use the measuring. There's an actual measuring stick. A ruler actually engraved into this particular cutting block. I'm going to take advantage of that. Lurking, my dad brought presents by since we're going to miss Christmas. Panic, please give your dad the best, because I feel like your dad and Twitch dad would get along just fine. So, Panic's dad, salud, skol, slancha, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. All right. Now, cut the finished spiral into 1/2-inch thick pieces. Okay. So I'm going to move this down here. And when it comes to cutting implements, a little bit of cutting 101. If you want to do if you're working with pastries or something like this, do not use a serrated edge. This is a serrated edge. You don't want to use it, because that's just going to tear at the pastry. You want something straight and sharp and smooth, like that one right there. I could, if I wanted to, use this, but I'm going with a smaller one because it's a little easier to control. They say 1/2 inch. And right here, I can see 1/2 inch. So I can just go on ahead and I can cut that. Probably won't use that one. Okay. Oh, look at those, chat. Look at those. Those are almost perfect. Those are almost perfect. And I'm pretty happy with the way this is all looking. Now this little flap right here, I may have to tuck that in. The other thing too, chat, I used what was called an extra thick crust. I didn't mind. I figured with what I was doing here, an extra thick crust wouldn't be all bad. See how evenly this kind of knife just kind of slices on through. Oh, and take a look at this. Just look at that inside. That's a thing of beauty right there. That's a thing of beauty. All right, so I'm gonna put that back at 3. How's it looking, chat? How's it looking? Because from where I'm at, it's looking pretty good. See, if I were to do this for the Great British Baking Show, this would probably be like one of the showstoppers that I'd do, because I don't know if they would ever be able. I don't think they would have, like, you know, cinnamon roll crusts or anything to be one of the specialties. You know what I mean? But one of the things that the Great British Baking Show, or the Bake Off, however you call it, looks like others will enjoy it too. I hope so. I hope so. Okay, I think we're getting near the end, because there's the little bit here, so I'm going to put that over there. All right. So here are all my pieces, and I'm actually going to be a little picky and use this guy as a. Well, actually no, he's got a good other side there. Okay. So here are my pieces. These are the end bits, the leftovers. So I'm just going to go in ahead and just roll that up into a ball. And the reason I don't throw this bit away, you'll see in a minute. You'll see as I'm putting this together. All right. So I've cut the finished spiral into these nice little even pieces, roughly a half an inch in width. And then what I need to do is I need to use a rolling pin. I need to roll each of these into 1/4 inch thick rounds. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a little bit of work. We're going to do this in shifts, since there's so many of them. Now you're like, wow, that's a lot of rolling you have to do. Well, I've also got a lot of coverage. Got a lot of coverage ahead of me, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to push these little guys together. And this will be the first batch right here. And then go back to my flour. This is why even when you're done with your flour shouldn't go away too far, because you're probably going to still need it. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to throw some flour on there. Don't worry if you feel like you've got too much flour. Just go ahead and scatter it over the other pieces. And if you've got any extra flour in your hands, get a rolling pin and just rub it along the rolling pin. All right? There you go. The reason why you also want to have flour for the rolling pin as well is you are flattening these out, but you don't want them to stick on the on the rolling pin as well. And because you've got that sweet gooey goodness in there, that's a possibility. All right. So they said 1/4 of an inch, right? Yeah, 1/4 inch rounds. Well, that's about as close to 1/4 inch as you get. Here's where it gets. Now the other thing is you want to take these pieces and you want to put them in the pie plate. You want to overlap them slightly and press to seal. All right. So let me do a few more, and then you'll see what I mean by when I do that. Move these guys out of the way. All right. So there's one. And keep in mind, chat, this is like the second or third time I've done this recipe. The pie crust. And now you kind of see why people go, oh man, maybe I should just go in and buy a pie crust. I mean, you can, but man, is this fun. Okay. So I'm going to move this aside. Just want to check something with the wife. Hold on a minute. Hey, hon?
Yeah?
Would I need to spray down a glass?
Yes.
Okay. So just spray it with like shortening and we should be good?
Yeah, there's a tin in there in the pantry that's mixture of oil and flour that's
Where is it? When in doubt, always check with the wife. All right. It's in the blue can, right? And just spray it in the pan. Okay. So because I'm working with a glass and not like a Teflon pie dish, I'm just going to go ahead and spray this in here. This is basically a baking spray with flour. So. All right. So that's what I've done with the pan, and now I start doing this. And I want them to overlap slightly. Like that. And then what I want to do is I want to press my fingers and just try to get all the gaps out. Now, if I do find like I have some gaps that I can't seem to get rid of, that's what the relief dough is for. I can just get like a little bit here and kind of like caulking, I can put that in between right here. And they may see that when they cut into it. They may not. If I was on a baking show, they probably would look at it to say, hey, you know, how'd you do this? So, and I can make these 1/4 inch medallions however large I want them to be, so long as I maintain that swirl. If I'm maintaining the swirl, that's the important bit. And you might think, wow, T, that's going to be huge. Well, here's the thing to remember. I not only have to get the the base here, I also have to get the sides as well. So I can tell you right now, I'm going to go through these very quickly. But I want to make sure that the gaps are all covered up, because I don't want the pie filling to seep to the bottom. Okay. By the way, on behalf of everybody here at Casa de Twitch Dad, Twitch Mom, Twitch Daughter, we all wish you a happiest of holidays, merriest of Christmases, whatever you celebrate. It's not about what you celebrate, it's about how you celebrate. And this year, I think no matter what you celebrate, we just ask that you celebrate it safely. All right. And again, you'll note that I'm lightly pressing these medallions into into the base. Because while it looks cool, it's still a pie crust. And I've got to make sure that the pie crust does its job. And what's nice is that when this thing bakes, when this puppy bakes, you know, it will all even out in the end. You know, it will all even out in the wash. And what I will do, chat, because I know we're going to have pie left over, my next stream, I'll make sure to have a piece of the pumpkin pie online so that you can get the end result. If I'm having if I'm having a piece of the pumpkin pie on online, you'll know it was good. Because like I said, the last time I did a cinnamon roll crust, it was for a pecan pie, and I think that was too much. That was way too sweet. So I'm hoping that pumpkin will be a better combination. All right, so now we're starting to work on the sides. Ooh, I know what I just remembered something I should have done at the beginning of this. Should have been taking pictures. Because when we picked up the cinnamon whiskey, the guy in charge of basically the guy who owns Malarkey Distillery, he said, "We'd love that recipe." And I said, "I'll go you one better. I'll send you a copy with with photographs." And I just remembered I wasn't taking photographs. All right. Okay, good. Might have to do some triage on this one. It's another great thing about dough. It's like the silly putty of food. It'll pick up stuff. Now I know I probably have some experienced bakers in the chat, so I got to ask an opinion. How am I doing? I am not so self-conscious about my baking prowess that I won't ask for an opinion about what you think of what's going on. Now, one of the reasons why you want to keep the pie crust also thin is that you don't want to have your pie crust be too thick, because if it is too thick, like a Titan thick, if it's too thick, then you know the actual pie itself will be lost in the taste of dough, and you don't really want that. Ooh. All right, now this is what happens when that's what happens when you start going a little too thin. You don't want your pieces so thin that they start falling apart on you. So I got to be a little more cautious about that. I think I might also need some flour here. Thank you, Kat. My wife's response to you, crushing perfectly, good cinnamon rolls is what a waste of beauty. Oh, crushing good cinnamon rolls. Oh. Mika's wife, trust me, in the end, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. Have a little faith in Twitch Dad. He might know what he's doing. Now, here's what might make your wife even laugh even harder, Mika. I've never made cinnamon rolls. The closest I've done to making cinnamon rolls is this recipe. Closest I've ever come. All right. There's a little problem spot there. Okay. I will say I think this one looks a little better executed than the first one I did. Or I should say the last one I did. Again, you want to make sure that you put some flour on your rolling pin as well. And to make sure you don't have a weird shape suddenly happen to your spiral, you can either, as you can see, I'm not just going in one direction, I'm rolling in several directions. But you don't necessarily have to press. In some cases, you just let gravity do the work. And then all you have to do when you press is when you get it in here. So I've got a decent piece of this, but I think I'm going to set this one aside as a relief pitcher because I think the swirl in this one's a little stronger. Move that up. Oh. So I almost streamed this morning me wrapping presents. And I was going to turn into a Twitch Dad stream where I was going to talk about the art or the zen of wrapping presents. And I thought better about it because I was worried that if I was streaming, my wife would watch. All right. Now you notice we're almost done here. We're almost done here. And we have been streaming for, let's see, where's the clock? Oh, there it is. So I've been streaming for just a little over an hour. It's a little over an hour, and I've managed to make an original crust for this pie. That's actually not too bad. That is a, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that is a pretty decent investment of time. All right. So here is our cinnamon roll crust. The first thing I would say and this is where sometimes people get a little nervous. It's okay. It is more than okay if your crust looks a little different from the one that is depicted in the recipe. But we're pretty close. This is mine. And here's the one that's in the picture. See if I can balance this properly. That is not too bad. How about there? Whoop! There we go. Not too bad. Thank you, Kat. All right. So the question is, what do I do with these last 2 bits? Well, one of the things I can do is, like, if there's a bare spot right here, I could press in that one there. I also want to make sure that the crust goes all the way along the sides here. Best bit is the glass, because the glass bottom, you can actually see the roll in the bottom. Let's see here. Yep. I think we're good. I think we're good, chat. And we still had 2 rolls to go. All right. So now you've got your crust. This is a cinnamon roll crust. Now we get to make a pie for it. So cinnamon roll crust is done. We set that aside. I wonder if I could just bake these. I don't see why I couldn't. Throw them in a baking sheet and see what happens. Yeah. What do you got to lose? All right. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. New bowl. And here's where we're really going to get creative, because, and just so you all know, chat, I am going to be posting the final recipe that we use. I am going to be posting in our Discord. Could one of my mods in chat, could they go on ahead and put into the chat command Discord, please? Oh, I just realized my mod in Discord is currently lurking. Hang on. I got this. I can't remember if Discord is a command for everybody. I know oh, there we go. Oh, there she is. I can't remember if the Discord command is for everybody. But yeah, if you're not a member of my Discord, feel free to go here and feel free to check out the food section of Discord. I was summoned. All right, hang on. Now I gotta go for a brag. Let me go and show the wife this. Fun part. Yes, chat. The crust is Twitch Mom approved. All right, so here's what we're doing. I have 2 recipes for pumpkin pie, and I'm going to break down and I'm going to explain why I'm using something from one, something from the other, and so on and so forth. So first off, we've got the cinnamon. Now this is the pumpkin pie they suggest with the cinnamon roll crust. This is the original recipe for the fireball pumpkin pie. Here's my only hang up with fireball. They actually make it with formaldehyde. That's part of the burn you're feeling when you drink it. And people describe Fireball as something you give to a friend that you don't like. You know what I mean? And I would rather support local business, and I would rather get behind a cinnamon whiskey that this cinnamon whiskey right here, which is locally made. It's they call it from farm to flask. It's kind of a spin on the from farm to fork. This is handcrafted, 100% all natural. This is Merlarky cinnamon whiskey. And if you're flinching, let me tell you something. You pour this over ice and mix it half and half with this and A&W cream soda. You got yourself a drink that you enjoy for a long, long night. It's really good. It's really good, and that's what we're using here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the best of both of these, put them together, and we're going to make this recipe from here. All right. So first off, now one thing that both of these have in common is the cinnamon pie crust. Is a pie crust, a 9-inch pie crust. This is more or less a 9-inch pie crust. Now, this one, the Fireball recipe here calls for 15 ounces of pumpkin pie filling. This one calls for 14 ounces of pumpkin pie filling, or pumpkin pie puree, or pumpkin pie mix. We're basically going to use the 15 ounces. We're going to use the 15 ounces. Now, you'll notice this is organic. I got this because it was on sale. Does organic taste any better than non-organic? Honestly, I don't know. I've used both. Both are fine. If you can afford organic, go for it. Why not? But I'm more about the measurements at this point. I'm more about the measurements, chat. So I just want to make sure that that I'm using the right amount. So there's the pumpkin pie with cinnamon roll crust that says use 14 ounces. This one says 15. Actually, I think I'm going to call an audible and go 14. And I'll explain why in a second. Oh, wait, no, I take that back. Nope. Calling an audible on the audible. No, I'm going to go with 15. All right. And just to make sure that when I put the final recipe up, I'm going to use there. Okay. Now, one thing I would say, I think the organic stuff will look different from the non-organic pumpkin pie filling. Whoops. I know, I'm using old school technology here. Old school tech here. Main reason that I use a hand crank is because, in all fairness, we don't have any room for it. Whether it's retirement or worst case scenario, when I get to New Zealand, I'm going to be, first off, I'll tell you this straight up, chat. I won't stop streaming whether I'm in New Zealand in 2021 for good or when I retire, whenever that is. But the one thing I would want is a bigger kitchen. So I can have space for stuff and also the ability to do these type of cooking streams, because I haven't done one in a long time and I'm already remembering just how much I enjoy cooking and cooking streams. All right. So now things are starting to get a little cluttered. So let me go on ahead. Let me move stuff around. I want to make sure. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. All right. So we're going ahead and we put the puree in here. And that's what this is, pumpkin pie puree. Now, could I get a bunch of pumpkins and make my own puree? Sure. But I will tell you this, it's going to take a lot longer for me to make this pie if I do that than if I just used just a pumpkin pie mix that you would get from any store. All right. Let's see. Oh, am I supposed to do anything with this? Place the pie in the oven. Oh, wow. Didn't realize that. Okay. It says to chill for 30 minutes. Chill this for 30 minutes. All right. Quick kitchen hack. If you need to chill something quick, and it says, well, we're going to put this in the refrigerator for 30 minutes, because I think it didn't. Yeah, chill before filling and baking. Bake according to your preferred pie recipe. So, so the thing is, I know for a fact that I'm going to finish this filling well before then, well before 30 minutes. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of putting it in the refrigerator, I'm going to put it in the freezer, and that will speed up the process. You see them do that all the time in the Great British Baking Show. Now you know why. So let's go ahead and chill this in the freezer. Okay. All right, so, and it's interesting too. This one says preheat oven to 375. This recipe says preheat oven to 400 degrees. That's Fahrenheit. That's Fahrenheit for everybody, just so you know. I'm actually going to go with 375 because I noticed that when I cook at 400, when I've cooked pies at 350 or 375, they've turned out fantastic. No scorch marks, no burns, anything like that. I cook at 400, it's a little rougher. It's a little rougher, so. All right. Combined pumpkin pie filling, evaporated milk, sugar, whiskey, extra. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I have to now call a brand new audible because it says, according to this recipe, I have to basically whisk everything. Now one says whisk. The other one says use a food processor. I've never used a food processor or a blender for pumpkin pie filling. So again, I'm going to go on ahead and use this step. All right. This one, it's funny. This pumpkin pie recipe is a little more complicated than this one, I'm noticing. And because I'm using the cinnamon roll, I think I want to stay as close to this one as possible, but still use the ingredients from this one. All right, so for this pumpkin pie, they're saying that for the filling, you need the puree, you need evaporated milk, half a cup of sugar, a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice, half a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, 2 eggs. Okay? So here's the difference. This filling calls for 3/4 cup of white sugar, 9 ounces of evaporated milk, 3 fluid ounces of cinnamon whiskey, 2 large eggs, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of ground ginger, a half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon of ground cloves, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Okay. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of that. With the Fireball pumpkin pie filling, that is literally from scratch. And you have very few shortcuts. And there is, you have to have those ingredients to make it pop really fine. Both have in common 2 eggs, so we're going to use the 2 eggs here. Both have in common the pumpkin pie filling. We're using the 15 ounces as opposed to the 14 ounces here. 3/4 cup of white sugar sounds really sweet. And we've already got cinnamon in here, and we've already got cinnamon whiskey. So I'm actually going to instead, because remember, the Fireball recipe does not call for a cinnamon roll crust. So that's why I'm going to go on ahead and use only half a cup of sugar. So we're using that, and then half a cup of sugar. But I am going to go another direction with, and this is where you start to get creative. You start doing cobbling together, and that's I admit that is a level of confidence when it comes to baking or cooking. I've got two recipes here. I want to use elements from both but make my own. Why not? So let's go on ahead and let's do that half a cup of sugar. This is a third of a cup. This is a full cup. This is the quarter cup. Here's the half cup. By the way, if that music does sound familiar, it is in fact Harris Heller. He is making terrific music. For streamers everywhere. All right. So this is our half cup of sugar. Now, I could use the 14-ounce can of evaporated milk because I got 14 ounces here exact. That's with this one. So, why do I just go ahead and pour this in and then add in the cinnamon whiskey? Because what these two things have in common, chat, is fluid. And if I use 14 ounces of this and 3 ounces of this, I now have 17 ounces of fluid. Versus in this recipe, where it only used 12 ounces of fluid. That means one cake is going to be super soupy, the other one will not. Paul Fisher, what am I making? I'm glad you asked. I am making what will be called Twitch Dad's Epic GG Cinnamon Whiskey Pumpkin Pie. I've just created this, Paul. I have created a cinnamon roll crust. It is currently chilling in the freezer. That is currently chilling in the freezer. The crust has been Twitch Mom approved. The cinnamon whiskey is not Fireball because I like people. I'm using Merlarky's cinnamon whiskey made only a stone throw away from where I live. I'm on my way over. Mr. Fisher, I'd love that. Because, damn it, it has been far too long since I've seen your beautiful face. I tell you what, this is great stuff. So let's get back to it. All right. So, if you ever watch the Great British Baking Show, chat, if you ever watch the Great British Baking Show, you know that they'll say, oh, the mixture's soupy, the mixture's this, the mixture's that, and they're always talking about fluid. If you throw cherries into a mix with a cake, that's got fluid. If you throw in peaches, the peaches have fluid. And that's where you have to be real careful when it comes to the mixture of your cake. The mixture of your pie. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go on ahead and take this 14 ounce of evaporated milk, swap it out for the 9 ounces of evaporated milk and 3 fluid ounces. That's 12 ounces total. I'm just going to go on ahead and take a quick guess that the extra 2 ounces, I don't need. Now, if I want, I've still got a safety margin. I've got a safety margin of 2 ounces there. If I'm going to add anything, I'm going to add an extra ounce of this. But let's first see how the mix looks. I'm going to need a measuring cup. And I'm going to need my old school can opener. And another little tidbit here too, chat. When they say whisk, you could use a classic whisk if you want to. You can also use a fork. It's got to be able to vent. That's the big thing. Got to be able to get the, it's like when you make an omelet. You want to be able to fold it over and get the air in with the egg yolk mixture and all that. So we're going to go with 9 ounces of evaporated milk. I'm trying to remember, Paul. You're that's Paul Fisher, everybody. Again, friend of the stream, good guy, one of the OGs of podcasting. Not gonna lie, we've seen some stuff. Me and Paul, we've seen some stuff. All right. It says there's 14 ounces in here, but I'm barely getting 9. Really? It literally says on the can, chat, it says 14 ounces. I think that's right. I think that's an ounce right there. Yep, that's 9 ounces. That's 9 ounces. Okay. I think if I had given it another scoop, it would have been... Oh, weight versus fluid ounces. I didn't even think about that. Whoops. If that's the case, then I need to remeasure that. See, when I looked at the evaporated milk, Paul, I just assumed the 14 ounces is 14 fluid ounces because we're dealing with condensed milk. I'm betting the can is by weight. Yeah. So backup plan, chat. Again, backup plan. Well, then that makes this even more confusing. So 9 ounces of evaporated milk, a 14-ounce can of evaporated milk. It's the same thing. Okay. So it's basically the same thing. 9 ounces of evaporated milk is the same thing as a 14-ounce can of evaporated milk. Ah, sneaky bastards. Okay. Trying to make me look like a dork on my own stream. What is up with that, chat? What is up with that? All right. But I'm trying to remember, Paul, is your dietary requirements don't necessarily they wouldn't have anything against pumpkin pie, would it? Okay, that's what this. You see, that's a little misleading there. But I did not know that. I also defer to Paul because Paul is also a wicked good cook. He's a wicked good cook too. All right. Now we get to the fun part, though. Because this is 3 fluid ounces. See, the thing is, they say 3 fluid ounces, but then they say 9 ounces of evaporated milk versus 14 ounces. I hope this doesn't turn out too soupy. I'll have to look that over. Ah, your 9 dairy. There it is. All right, well, I guess we'll find out very quickly if it's too much or not enough. All right, so I need 3 ounces. So 3 ounces is there. Here we go. Oh, God, this stuff is good. There we go. All right, so put on the white sugar. Now, going back to the going back to the ground ginger, ground cloves, ground cinnamon, and salt, versus this. All this stuff, the salt, the sugar, the ginger, the cloves, the cinnamon, and then some other stuff that that honestly should be in a pumpkin pie, like nutmeg. That's in here. Pumpkin pie spice. This is the gold of every girl named Stephanie who goes into their Starbucks. This is the pumpkin pie spice. All right. And we need a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice. It's a tablespoon? Yeah, it's a tablespoon. Remember, TSP versus TBSP. Remember that, chat. Words to live by. Words to live by. And then the vanilla extract. Wow, which this one does not call for. Well, we're definitely putting in the vanilla extract. And it's a half a teaspoon. You know what? I think I'm going to forego that. I think I'm going to forego the vanilla extract and just stay with the cinnamon whiskey. And now we got 2 eggs. So with the 2 eggs, we're going to go ahead. And before anybody goes, whoa, he cracked those eggs like a master. Okay, here's the thing. I like eggs. Doing that, you just gotta be in practice. You gotta practice. Gotta practice that. All right. So now I could use a whisk. I could use a whisk for this, but the eggs are supposed to be lightly beaten. I'm just going to go ahead and whisk them a bit, as if I was making one of my breakfast burritos. Oh man, rain's really coming down now. All right. Then we're going to throw that in there. And now probably comes the hard part. What's that, Paul Fisher? Donating $50. Let's go! That's $350 at this juncture. You guys are killing it today. Thank you so much, everybody. See, honestly, chat, I don't think you need. If you want to use a food processor, if you want to use a food processor, if you want to use a blender, you could. If your pumpkin pie puree is coming out isn't coming out smooth enough, then I would recommend doing that. I would recommend going on ahead and doing the whole food processor bit. You just want to make sure it's smooth. All right, I'm just now again I'm comparing. Yeah, until blended, then you pour into the pie shell. Right. But as you can see, this is the consistency you want, and probably with some of the jumps that the stream has been taking, this looks really herky jerky, but we should be okay. At least that's what Streamlabs is telling me. But you should have a really smooth looking custard right here. That's what you're making, the pumpkin pie filling. It's basically a custard. And before you serve it, it's up to you if you want to chill it or not. I tend to leave it in the refrigerator, so that there's a slight chill to it. And now that we're at this point, I wanted to go in and have a little celebratory drink. So, hold please. One cube. Because part of the fun, chat, of cooking with whiskey is you can enjoy it. So I'm gonna a little cinnamon, have a little chilled cinnamon whiskey. Again, the whiskey, do you taste the filling before you put it into the pie shell? I could. The only hesitance I would have with this would be I've got 2 raw eggs in there. But then at the same time I think, well, yeah, I have 2 raw eggs in there, but you know what? They also have raw eggs in cookie dough. At least cookie dough when you make it from scratch, and people tend to eat that crap raw as well, so there is that. But to your health. Oh my God. Merlarky Distillery, baby. If you can get it in your area, do so. Man, they're good. Oh, that's delightful. That's absolutely delightful. In fact, I'm going to try a little something here. Let's put a little ginger ale on that. All I'm tasting is the cinnamon. I might need to put some fresh ginger ale on that. That's delightful. Okay. So but no, I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend doing it. So you should have a nice even texture to your pumpkin pie filling. Now we pull the chilled pumpkin pie crust out, and then it basically says, pour the custard into the chilled pie crust. You still want to have a little bit of an edge on top. You don't want it to overflow, obviously. Move that over here. There you go. And let's see, we're going to go on ahead and do bake here. I have a little more here. Okay. That looks pretty even. All right. So what you're looking at is a combination of literally 3 different recipes. And it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing turns out. All right. So what happens now? This is going to be the point where we will be obviously not... I don't have anybody down here that's going to pass me a completed pumpkin pie. Because now this thing bakes for 15 minutes to 1 hour. But I've already preheated the oven to 375. So let's go ahead and let's pop this puppy in there. Also, really nice idea if you've got somebody that you have in your family, or you got a friend who loves to cook. I highly recommend these. These are Kitchen Perfection silicone gloves, and these things are fantastic. These are absolutely fantastic. All right, because the custard hasn't set or anything, you're going to want to make sure that you don't swirl it around too much. This is always like the leap of faith for me. There we go. Okay. Alexa, set a pumpkin pie timer for 50 minutes.
Pumpkin pie timer, 50 minutes, starting now.
Now this is what the recipe says, chat. Place pie in the oven and bake until the custard is set around the edge but slightly jiggly in the middle, about 15 minutes to 1 hour. If the crust begins to brown too quickly, cover the edge all around with foil. And then it says serve. So, one more picture I have to get. Okay. And now I get to transfer all of this to my Discord. Paul, by the way, thank you very much for that. And Paul, just as a reminder, use Sparky Broken Halo and Don't Panic are now in the running for a drawing. The drawing is going to be for what I call the Bioshock, the Bioshock prize pack. I have downstairs a small miniature Big Daddy and 2 little sisters, and I will be raffling them off tonight. When Pip and I do the Assassin's Creed Christmas stream tonight. We're going to be doing that probably around 7:30 or so. But Paul, you are in the running. Well, 7:30 is the stream. And then by the time the stream, or near the stream's end tonight, that's when I do the drawing. So, yeah, figured you'd like that. So anyway, Slancha. Oh, that's good. Oh, that is so good. Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm going to take a little picture of that, too. All right. So now comes the hardest part in cooking. The hardest part in baking. Waiting. I have done everything I can up to this point. Now it is in the hands of God and the LG oven that we have here. So yeah, we'll have to see how I do. I'm pretty confident. Everything looked right. Everything feels pretty good. I think I made the right call between the ingredients from one and the other, and but now it's just a matter of letting it cook. And you know, when you hear people talk about the quality of ovens, that's one of the things that comes into play. How evenly do these ovens cook? Every oven is different. We had the oven we originally had here, I think, was a Westinghouse, and it wasn't a bad oven. It was quite a good oven, but I really think when we graduated up to this LG, I think that's what this is. If it isn't an LG, it's a General Electric. It's one or the other. But when we upgraded ovens, it was a game changer. It was a real game changer for us. So there's just a little something to think about. And then I had these 2 leftovers. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to have a little fun with this. Let's throw that in there. And let's just see what happens. Oh God! I just got a whiff of the pie when I opened up the oven, and woo! Already I can smell the pumpkin and the cinnamon. It's really nice. Okay, off to a good start. Now comes the hard part: cleaning. And this tends to be one of the things that really turns people off on baking and cooking of any kind. The cleanup. Yes, cleanup's a hassle. It is. It's an absolute hassle. I'm the first one to tell you that. But here's the long and short of it. When you order out, when you eat out, you're basically paying for the lack of stress, right? You know, if you don't like it, you can always complain to somebody. When you don't like something you make, that's on you. You're also paying for time because it takes a fraction of time. I mean, just to bake a... Oh, hey, Fire Newt, how are you? Ah, now you see, Panic's got the right idea. But any pie is worth a moment of cleanup. See, that's the thing that we've discovered during this whole thing with the pandemic. There was a place we used to go to for wings. We're not going there anymore. We're just not. Because between the air fryer and what we've discovered, what we can do, particularly with this, and you all know about how much I love this book. I mean, this has been a holy Bible during the pandemic. Between the stuff that we've learned in this book, we will probably never go out, or rarely go out, for tacos or wings, because the recipes in that book are that good. And now we're looking at Snoop Dogg's book, and his wings are amazing. Fire Newt, by the way, hi, how are you? You're catching me in the cleanup phase of a cooking stream, a baking stream. You're baking with Twitch Dad. And we are we're baking a cinnamon whiskey pumpkin pie. And in roughly an hour's time, we're going to find out if it's any good. I don't think I'm going to be stalling for an hour. I think what's going to happen is when we go downstairs, see, that's the problem. Do we break into the pie tonight, or do we wait, and then on my Saturday chill stream, I reveal the pie? Guess we'll find out. But really, I have found P for pumpkin. It's another thing too, chat. I try to keep my spices in alphabetical order. That's how much I've been cooking since the whole thing with COVID-19. I have really upped my cooking game, and because of it, I try to keep everything in order. You know, just a clean kitchen. I always like a clean kitchen, but when you're actually baking and keeping a clean kitchen, it's just nice to be able to at any time go, I don't have to clean up the kitchen so that I can mess it up again. I know it's ready to go, and I can just do it, right? And and one of the other things that we noticed too is that you're paying for you're basically paying for the ease of getting food, for not having to clean up, and for knowing that it's going to be good, right? That's what you're paying for. But what you're trading off is you don't know exactly what's going into that meal. And for myself, when I bake or when I cook, I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of it. Paul Fisher can tell you a story. He can tell you many stories about me. But one of the stories he can tell you about is when we did... Nope. There it is. The event that Paul Fisher and I met at was an event called Balticon. and it's Baltimore's premier literary science fiction event in this area. And there was a particular place that we held it at that within spitting distance of the Con Hotel. There was another hotel where I would stay at. It was a Residence Inn. And if you're familiar with the Residence Inn chain from Marriott, one of the things that they tend to have at a lot of Residence Inns are these courtyards with this big grill in the middle. I mean, it's one of those massive grills. You know, you can, it's about the size. It's about the size of this countertop, but maybe even double that. And I say this because I was staying at that hotel, and I said, you know what? I want to take advantage. I really want to take advantage of this setup. So I organized what would eventually be called the PG Holyfield Meet and Greet, and meet was spelled MEAT. And the rules are really simple. Starting at 7 o'clock on the first night of the con, and this was like Balticon is it's like a 4-day event, right? And the rule was really simple. You after like I said, starting at 7 o'clock, you go to the Residence Inn, you go to the grill area where I would be. And you've got something on the grill. You've got something for the grill for you. But then you also buy something or make something. And that it became and make something. Or make something that you would share with a friend or a friend you haven't met yet. And some people would just show up. Other people, like a mutual friend and a friend of the stream, a guy by the name of Jason Gregory Banks, he would actually have pork butt that he would have marinated for literally a week, and then he'd bring it to this event. And I remember somebody went up to Pip and said, "Pip, is tea okay?" And Pip's like, "What do you mean?" And they said, "He's been at that grill for 4 hours and he hasn't moved." And Pip looked at me, looked back, and said, "He's fine. Don't worry, he's in his element." And that's the thing. When I cook or when I bake, I get a real satisfaction out of it. And I feel like that's what this is all about for me. When I bake, when I cook, it's not just I'm gonna have a nice meal. I'm sharing part of my love. Food is love. I remember that was something author Piper J. Drake said to me once. Food is love. And it's one of the reasons why when I bake or when I cook or when I have cookouts, something that I miss doing and I can't wait to start doing again. I know that if it's at all possible this summer, even late summer, if I can start doing cookouts again, I'd be thrilled, because and Paul has been to my cookouts. To me, that is a much better trade than just going out and there are going to be nights where you just don't want to cook. I get that. Tonight is one of those nights at this house. We're gonna be ordering probably Chinese food or something, because tomorrow I'm making 4 cheese mac and cheese. Might actually stream that as well. But I'm making 4 cheese smoked mac and cheese, and then I'm also smoking a chicken and not rolling it into paper and smoking it like a cigarette. I mean, I'm smoking a chicken with my smoker. But to me, that kind of communion, that kind of time that you get with people when you're cooking or baking for them, nothing beats that. And I think that's one of the things I love about the Great British Bake Off, is that it is just Sorry, Paul. My mind to your mind. Okay. The floor may be a little tough, but you know what? I think this countertop is a lot better than what it was. Oop. But if you were to ask me, do I think it's a worthy trade-off? Being able to cook for yourself, being able to cook, full-on meals, and being able to, and when I say cook, I don't mean like cook with like making hamburgers. Not that there's anything wrong with hamburgers. Sometimes you just want something simple. I mean, when we want to do something simple, we basically take we take Impossible Beef or Beyond Beef. Throw in some mushrooms and red peppers. You throw that into a pan, mix it up, throw in some tomato sauce, and then cook up some pasta. Boom. There you go. It's ragu. There's nothing wrong about that, but it's also nice being able to cook fancy things and even bake stuff, because there's just at least for me, it's a real satisfaction. It's a real satisfaction. And I think this pie is off to a good start. I think it is. Well, okay, everybody. I think now we will just have to wait and see how that pie turns out. I will definitely be posting pictures on my Discord. So you can keep an eye out for that. I want to thank everybody, by the way. Between Sparky and Paul, we managed to move the needle on the I think I'm a little tired. Maybe a drink will help. Here you go. Cheers. We managed to move the needle beyond $1,300. So, we're doing okay on this charity stream, I think. I am absolutely over the moon. Thank you all so much for showing that support, for showing that love. I really do appreciate it. And as far as the fate of the pie, which I will say this. Paul? It's too bad we never did get Sci Pie off the ground, because I think Aaron Gray would have loved a slice of my pie. I'm just saying. At least Mark Bailey took a piece of the pie. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's a story for another time. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go on ahead and shut stream down. I'm going to let AutoHost do its thing, but I will, like I said, I will go on ahead and I will be posting pictures on Discord. And I will also be giving updates not just on the pie, but on the charity stream as well. Remember, that charity stream, if you cannot donate to the charity stream, by all means, please take that URL right there and circulate it on your social media. Let people know that I am doing this charity. Oh, thank you. I think we are going to have a good Christmas Eve. Pip and I will be back tonight, by the way. We will be back tonight at 7:30. 7:30 at the earliest, 8 o'clock at the latest. And we are going to have what we call a very special Christmas Eve raid and rabble-rousing with Twitch Mom. And she is going to be in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And she has been saving this specifically for Christmas Eve. She's going to London, and she's taking you with her. So by all means, please join us then. We would love to see you there. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on this what is going to be this recipe, with these two recipes combined, and hopefully I have some good news in about half an hour. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great Christmas Eve. Have a fantastic Christmas. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. For those of you who have just finished celebrating Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah. For those of you who celebrate something else, I wish you all the best and the happiest of holidays. And for those of you who celebrate Festivus, it's Festivus for the rest of us. I wish you all the best as well. Doesn't matter what you're celebrating, so long as you love everybody, right? So long as you love your fellow man. That's all we're talking about here. Anyway, you all have a great finish to your day. I will see you all 7:30 with the better half when we're going to be heading to London for our Christmas holiday. All right, everybody. Have a good day. Thanks again.